and welcome to one of the must-have courses for NGOs, AI and NGOs, how to use artificial intelligence responsibly in non-profit organizations. So every technology brings both risks and opportunities. AI can transform NGOs' work in several ways: fundraising, proposal writing, evaluating impacts, and so on. Thus, using AI can bring in many advantages for an NGO. The key for an NGO is to ensure how to optimally use the AI tools without risking the social responsibility and commitment of our work. So this course is about responsible use of AI in the development sector. This training course is organized by NGOs.ai in collaboration with GMARC and Funds for NGOs. So before I move forward, let me again introduce to you the trainers of this course. The trainer, Mr. Gopal Kumar Jain, has been working in the development sector for over 3 decades now. He specializes in fundraising, branding and communications, and project management. He has worked with a number of reputed development sector organizations and is the part of the management team as well as on the board of an Indian NGO. The content of this course is primarily based on his experiences as that of a trainer for getting funds from more than hundreds of corporates and foundations. I am Vidushi Jain. I am the co-trainer for this course. I am a graduate in media and communication from Symbiosis International University in Pune. I have done my post-graduation in criminology from the National Institute in New Delhi. Previously, I have worked with organizations like UNICEF, Project CACA, Project KAKA, which stands for Children Against Child Abuse, I2V Development Foundation, etc. I have interned with national agencies as well, like the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. Currently, I am pursuing my doctorate in criminology, and I have published over 25 training courses, which are several teach and learn video materials. So, let us start with the session for today. What is the code of conduct of a progressive agency? So the universal aspects of code of conduct of most agencies include transparency, trust, honesty, no bias policy, authenticity, and truth. Thus, responsible use of AI is when these aspects of the code of conduct are not put under risk. So in the next few slides, I will describe some key thumb rules for all of you to ensure that the use of AI does not breach your code of conduct as an organization. Rule 1, protecting personal data. So while working with communities, we collect large amounts of personal data, including the name of the beneficiary, sex, age, their address, their educational information, health data, income details, etc. In India, we also have something called an Aadhaar card, right? So these Aadhaar numbers through which several such information about the individual can be extracted also needs to be protected. There is always the risk of misuse of such data for cyber or digital crime. So when we feed our reports or our data into the AI platform, the same can be misused. Thus, while entering data into an AI tool, we should ensure that the data does not lead to the identity or any details regarding the identity which can be extracted like Aadhaar card numbers, etc. of any individual. For example, instead of names, we can enter arbitrary numbers such as person 1, location 1, etc. Also, the Aadhaar numbers can be masked. right? So ensure that your beneficiaries know how, when, and where would the data information which has been taken from them will be used. You can also ensure that a no objection certificate or an NOC is being signed by every beneficiary who is a part of your project. Rule 2 talks about prudent transparency about the use of AI. So, how to be prudently transparent about using AI? We sometimes use AI generated content instead of writing on our own. Even the stories are hypothetical, but they seem realistic. Mostly, these are used for the engagement with the community, right? So we need to be honest and we need to mention this while presenting any content. Or if you have used AI for some specific aspect like polishing the language or the text, image or infographic generation, etc., do mention this in the footer as well. Similarly, while writing a grant proposal to explain any concept, if you are using any AI generated image, infographic, or any sort of animation, then do mention it in the caption that it is AI generated. So, all of these will avoid any form of skepticism among your stakeholders, your donors, or your beneficiaries, and it will help build trust for you and for your organization. The third rule, protect confidential information. As we have already discussed, while we are working with several donors, there is an MOU that has to be signed as a confidentiality clause or a non-disclosure agreement, which is NDA. So while using an AI tool, we should be careful of not sharing any such confidential information, such as the donor details, their strategies, the MOU details that we have signed, etc., in any AI tool, because this will otherwise lead to breach of the contract. Also, as an organization, you have to be certain that certain confidential information, which could be pertaining to the finance, the HR, or any such project details, is not disclosed or mentioned. Please remember that there is always the threat that such information can be misused, landing your project and organization in a big trouble. Therefore, ensure that data transparency is followed at every stage by you with the AI, and general data is only uploaded which is anyways up for public viewing, and hence it is safe to be in the public domain. Rule 4, avoid social biases. Now, what happens is that AI generated content, it usually draws upon historical data when the world was more discriminated or fragmented against certain communities, right? Social biases and stereotypes are hence fully integrated in a lot of the content which AI might be generating. I still remember that when I was in school, textbook images were full of stereotypes, like a boy, that is a minor boy as a child going to school or playing, whereas the girl as a child doing household work or taking care of the siblings. Whenever we would talk about a carpenter or a farmer, it would be a guy, a boy or a man who would be shown in those images. And whenever we talk about a teacher, it would generally be a girl or a woman, right? So biases against certain communities also doing certain kind of work, etc., can be used by AI. Content and images such as these, they would reflect enhanced social biases. And this content is not going under AI's name. This is going under the name, under the banner of your organization and your project. Thus, we need to carefully manage the AI generated content to avoid amplifying such social biases and stereotypes. We work with people and we understand empathy and intuition. AI is not humane. It till date does not have the cognitive abilities as that of a human to perform in the field, right? So we should be extremely careful of avoiding such biases. Rule 5 is to ensure inclusivity. As an NGO, we work with inclusivity, right? We work inclusively, and thus this must be reflected in the content also, which is created by AI. So we understand emotions and sentiments and we are sensitive to them, but AI may not be. As we discussed, AI is not humane. So we should also be sure that the AI generated content must be properly evaluated. It should be edited and rechecked before publishing it in any platform. For example, an AI generated image of a poor would be a bare body old man with white beard and having tears in his eyes, or an old woman who is begging. This is quite insensitive, right? These images are loaded and further enhanced. Several social stereotypes can be reflected in them. Similarly, AI generated text about your organization also may read something like, "We help the poor who are suffering." This could be written as, "We work with people under poverty or behind the poverty line to lead a life full of dignity." Right? So things, language like this is something which then you will need to alter and you will need to change. Rule 6 talks about authenticity and truth. While the AI industry is going through transformative processes, currently it lacks systems such as IPR, which is intellectual property rights, copyrights, trademarks, etc. So we as NGOs, through our projects, are the warehouse of community knowledge or indigenous and unrecorded and copyrighted knowledge. We don't know how such knowledge may get used if supplied to the AI database. Similarly, if we try getting such information through AI, I would be unsure that how authentic or correct such information might even be. So using such AI generated content without any edits could then pose a challenge for any NGO. So we need to be careful to avoid this. Rule 7, you decide and not AI. Once you have collected the AI generated information, images, infographics, etc., it can provide you with the data analytics. It can suggest solutions. It can even provide arguments, or it can provide catchphrases for you to use to capture attention. But decision about whether or not to use such information is up to you. Which information should not be used? If edits are needed, then which edits should be made, etc. These are your decisions, so they must be yours. Aspects such as emotions, values, culture, local living standards, etc., they set the context for our work. AI does not know this, right? So unless we provide AI with the necessary and appropriately presented information, this glitch might occur. The type of prompt that you are giving to the AI also needs to be very specific. Whether the AI generated material is in sync with your project or your work context should be a judgment that relies with you. And you must take the final decision about the AI generated document as well. Rule 8, double check. As we have mentioned, it's finally your responsibility of publishing any content or images. Thus, when you are ready with the final document, double check to ensure it does not go against your organization's or the industry's code of conduct, against your project purpose, or against your work ethics, right? And lastly, rule 9, which is robustness and security. Set up a clear plan to monitor and to evaluate the performance of the selected AI feature in real world conditions. AI solutions should be free of errors and they should be resilient to external threats such as data breaches, etc., or the misuse of predictive models or risk assessment models, etc. So this robustness and security is your responsibility, and the same should be replicated throughout your activities and your content. So before we close, here is a quote from Satya Nadella, the chairman and CEO of Microsoft. Artificial intelligence brings great opportunity, but also great responsibility. We are at that stage where with AI, the choices we make need to be grounded in principles and ethics. That's the best way to ensure a future we all want. So, with that thought, we would now like to come to an end to this course. Thank you for watching this course, and for more such courses, please visit www.fundsforngos.org. All the best.